Namaste. This is BCHR, Basic Course in Health Research, SL, Self-Learning 14. So we're going to discuss steps in writing a research proposal. The whole goal of the workshop is to write a research proposal. Since many of the topics have been covered in different other discussions topics, we are just going to focus on the steps in writing research proposal. So research is about dreaming, innovating, creating, and disseminating. So we should start thinking outside the box as a researcher. We need to learn to discover, we need to inquire, we need to do literature search, imagine, dream, and then that's how you can innovate, you can create, you can discover. So that's what the research is about. So with that, the components of research proposal, which was discussed in self-learning number 13. So these are already talked and covered. These are the topics generally used in research proposals. Every institution, every grantor, every IRC may have different type of proposal application or research application format. For PAHS IRC, this is the format we have been using since 2023. Title, introduction up to 250 words, which is the background. Methods, details for reproducibility. So they give you guideline. The form itself has, what should be included in the methods, including objective, study design, sampling technique, sample size, study variables, etc., data collection, pro forma and questionnaire, dummy tables, limitation of the study, ethical consideration, provide citation where applicable. And then they want you to list the most relevant up to 10 citations, not too many citations. Similarly, additional information may include budget, work plan, Gantt chart, data storage sharing and dissemination plans, information sheet and consent form. If it's a multi-center trial, then details of the study sites, maybe collaborative agreements. If it's a foreign researcher, institutional affiliation, the details about the researcher, details about vulnerable population, biosample taking out and bringing in the country, equipment and materials, detailed proposal, if any, if in addition to this IRC form, it can be attached, and then conflict of interest, if yes, provide details. And also annex may include information sheet, consent form, dummy table, and other supporting materials. So this is the format for PAHS IRC research application. On the other hand, UGC grant application has a different format, which starts with title, abstract, background, problem statement, similar to what I showed in the first slide, and we discuss in the components of the research proposal. And in case of UGC, each of these points carries certain score. So it's important to cover as many components as possible. So as I said, different institution, different organization, different grantor may have different types of research proposal format and instructions. We have to follow this instruction, but still we may develop our own research proposal writing logical sequence. For example, if I am writing a grant proposal, I have to submit it to the IRC. I may have to submit to a grantor agency, not only one, but maybe 5 different agencies before it gets approved. So I write independently a research proposal, and then I take that information and copy paste or summarize in the actual application form of the concerned agency, be it an IRC or a grantor agency. So generally, the experts suggest different types of format than what is on the application. So first, of course, the background work is literature review. We have to do literature review on the topic that we're going to write proposal on. So that's where we start. Then create a provisional title, also known as a crafter title, right? A very nice, attractive title. Then draft well thought out objectives. Generally, we write general and specific objectives or specific aims, which is the standard. But you may want to include hypothesis if it's a hypothesis-driven research, or outcome or endpoints, especially if it's a prospective study like a clinical trial or a prospective cohort study. Then you develop research strategy followed by research plan and a methodology. So first, strategy is something you write down, jot down as a plan and outline the plan before actually you start writing the details. In doing so, consider technology, personnel that is available for research, expertise available for the research, and skills needed to accomplish the research work. Then go back and write your introduction and background to support your objectives and support your methodology. So that's when you can write a focused introductory or the background information. Then prepare budget based on your research work or research plan and provide justification. Evaluate your specific aims and methods in the light of your expected budget. Maybe you don't have enough budget to achieve what you have planned. And reevaluate hypothesis, aims, and title to make sure they reflect your plans. And prepare your abstract and summary to give it to the reviewer, give it to the website or social media, and then complete the other necessary parts of application and forms required by the particular institution. And share with your teams, mentors, expert, and colleagues for feedback, because they can give you feedback and help you to polish your research proposal. So coming to the details one by one, stepwise. First, we need to craft a nice, succinct, and attractive title. Some of these have been covered in the components of research proposal. But again, to emphasize, the title should reflect the content and design of the study, and it should be specific, using simple language, and you should meet the character limits as per instruction on the application. So usually 200 characters or less for a title. And then make sure that your title is good, not too redundant, not incomplete, not too short, but make it nice, succinct, but yet complete, like the last one in this case. So make it attractive, concise, specific, appropriately spiced. We have learned in detail in the components of research proposal: setting, population, intervention, condition, endpoint, and design. Those are the things or different components of a good title. And don't use interrogative or declarative titles. Think outside the box when choosing the topic, make it attractive and look like it's an innovative or novel kind of study you are planning to do. Draft well thought out objectives. Start thinking about your planned experiments by drafting objectives. Start with general or overall, sometimes also known as overall objectives, overarching objective. And then based on general objective, draft specific objectives, sometimes also known as specific aims, especially in the NIS lingo, and based on general and overall objectives. Write down your hypothesis. If it's hypothesis-driven research, you don't have to write hypothesis if it's just a prevalence study or something like that without a hypothesis. In case of clinical trials and cohort studies, write down study outcomes or endpoint, and then make sure the objectives can be completed within a typical time frame that is available to you. And objective should also tackle the research question that you can handle or it's within your niche, and be able to move your field forward so that it will be acceptable for publication later on, and supported by preliminary data or published data. So there are some of the examples. I'm not going to go into details. We cover these in the components of a research proposal. So sometimes the objective and specific objectives or specific aims are used. In other cases, objective can follow by the outcome if it's an outcome study or endpoint. And primary and secondary outcome. Primary is based on the main objective, and secondary are the other exploratory questions. Or it could be objective, and for each objective or each subspecific objective, you write down the hypothesis which we are planning to prove with statistical analysis. And first, before writing a full detailed research plan, write what you are planning to do, where you are planning to do, jot it down in short form. It's called developing strategies, research strategies. And then you prepare the full research plan and methodology based on your research strategies. So the methodology, also known as research plan in NIS lingo, is a plan to reach the stated objectives and specific aims. So it should be able to communicate and convince the reviewers that you can perform this study. Consider the technology, personnel, and skills needed to accomplish. If you don't have that capacity or support system, then the reviewer may not be convinced. Describe your interventions. Consider available validated tools, or if you are going to use new tools, also mention about the validation. Describe data collection tool, data entry and management plans, statistical methods, including sample size, and also what kind of data analysis you'll use to prove your hypothesis or to show your specific aims. That's very important, that you should define the statistical method for each and every specific aim or hypothesis. Describe any specific permission or precautions necessary, especially from ethical point of view, and describe limitations and alternatives to overcome those limitations. So this is an example of research strategy for a published study, relationship between clinical language and successful behavioral change intervention, a mixed method cohort study. So objective is to examine the relationship between the language used in clinical visit and patient weight loss. Interventions, 3 interactional approaches they are using. Outcome, primary is weight change at the end of 12 months, and secondary are other exploratory endpoints, which include agreement to attend the weight management program, patient-reported satisfaction after the visit, attendance at the weight management program in 12 months. In the design, mixed method, prospective cohort study, 38 hospitals in UK, study population, obese patients and general practitioners. So there are 2 different populations being studied. Sample size estimation, 246 obese patients and 87 GPs who are taking care of those obese patients. And then the measurement data source data analysis consists of weight, secondary data, mixed effects, linear models. Study timeline, 6 months preparation, 18 months enrollment, 3 months data analysis. And resources include the study team, different types of the research team members, and the necessary equipment, budget, funding source, etc. And this is the reference for this particular study. So after research plan or research methodology, the 4th step is going back and write down your introduction and background. So when you're writing introduction background, you're not going to write whole essay about the disease or the drug or the device, but actually just introduce what is it about, and then rest of the things should be what is the rationale for doing this study, what is the preliminary data, what is the literature on that. So you build the rationale why you're doing this study. Then you show why is this study important, what is the significance at your setting for your patient group or for your institution or for your country or for contributing to the science. And then last but not least, you also want to show the novelty. What is the new things you are going to discover, or what is the innovation in this particular research? So these 3 things will make your research application strong. Then you go back, look at your research plan and calculate the budget, including personnel, equipment, supplies, what type of expenses there for patient care, maybe drugs, device, transportation, maybe the lunch provided to them when they are being studied, etc. And then all of them should be justified, why and how much, and calculated based on your research objectives and number of patients. Example of budget. So under first item, it's personnel. You are also putting what percentage of effort, how much effort. Like if I'm involved as a PI, only 10%, that's how you calculate based on your salary. If you are a coordinator who is spending 50% of the time or 20% of the time in this case, then you put a little bit more percentage on your part. And next section is equipment, consumables, and services, so such as lab tests, lab supplies, transportation of sample, etc. And then travel and transportation of not only sample but also the people, the patients who may have to get transported from their home to the clinic or the research site for follow-up. Or maybe the researcher has to go to the home of the patient to examine them, collect the sample, etc. And then facilities and administrative cost, presentation, publication, ethical approval, etc. Always include ethical approval budget, because the ethics, if you have a grant, external grant, then the ethics board will require you to pay a certain percentage of that. Budget justification should consist of direct cost, why, personnel, how much, all calculations, equipment, consumables, travel, presentation, public contract, everything has to be justified. Similarly, there's indirect cost. Mostly it's the administrative overhead charged by your institution, but also it may include other costs like regulatory cost, IRB fee, infrastructure, access to specialist resources, etc. Step 6, you go back and evaluate your specific aim and methods in the light of your expected budget, because your budget may require you to modify your research plan. And then step 7, reevaluate hypothesis, aims, and title to make sure they are still reflecting your plans, because you want to line up the title, hypothesis, aims, and your methodology and statistical analysis. And they have to be coherent, consistent, and they have to reflect exactly the same thing. Prepare an abstract. Most grants require you write a scientific abstract briefly so that the reviewer will start from reading the abstract. Our IRC does not require that, so you don't have to worry about that when you're submitting just to the IRC. The abstract is a summary of project. It's written in the same manner that you write an abstract of your publication for a journal, except you don't have the results and conclusion section. And then some of the grantor or some of the institution also require or may require lay summary, which is a summary of project highlighting its significance in layman term, so that a layman member of the ethical review board or grant review team can also understand it. Laymen are required, an attorney, a lawyer, or a general member of the public or patient group are required to be the part of our IRC too. So they cannot understand the scientific language written in the proposal. So a lay summary will definitely help them to understand it. It can also be used for social media to recruit study volunteers, or just on the website as a showcase of the institution. Then in step 9, complete rest of the application forms, such as the specific roles of investigators, a biosketch or curriculum vitae of the researchers, which need to be submitted to the IRB or IRC, research environment and institutional support, what kind of environment is there to accomplish the planned research, what kind of institutional support is provided, etc., should be mentioned. References in bibliography, as we talked about earlier. Appendices, which may include various different forms and tools. And collaborative agreement, if you are going to collaborate within your institutions, between different departments or different schools, or between your institution and other institutions. And finally, The plan for dissemination results and publication, that should also be mentioned. In summary, craft an attractive and descriptive but concise title of the study. Draft well thought out objectives, specific aims, and hypotheses based on good scientific rationale to support them. Research plan methodology should be coherent with study title, geared to achieve stated objectives and to prove, disprove hypotheses. So these should be coherent. They should all be lined up in the same manner, because title of this study, objectives, specific objectives, your plan of study, and your statistical analysis, they should all be linked to each other. Otherwise, that doesn't look good. The researcher or the reviewer will actually ask you questions if you deviate from your study title and objective and do something else in your research plan or statistical analysis. Introduction background is not for showing the extent of knowledge or literature search, but should support the rationale and significance of your project. Always follow the instructions provided by the or on the application form. Avoid plagiarism. I don't know, many of you are familiar with it, but plagiarism is something, copying and pasting. Nowadays, many of us use AIs, but AI generated information can also be found, also be detected by using AI detecting tools. So even if you take help from AI or you're reading somebody else's information, still write everything down, rewrite everything down in your own sentences. Make it simple, easy to understand, and with a good flow for the readers. Have someone review your proposal, a colleague, an expert, a mentor, so that they can give you feedback. There's a saying that, the more eyes, it's better, so that if multiple eyes look at it, they can provide you good feedback and good advice. It's similar to how the reviewer will be looking at it. So in the end, dream, innovate, create, and disseminate, because you are going to be a discoverer, you're going to be a scientist. So think outside the box when choosing the topic and scope of your proposal. Follow the instruction provided, keep it simple, easy to understand, and with a good flow. You don't have to make it very difficult to understand, or don't use too much scientific and what we call as bombastic words. Be meticulous with proposal writing, proofreading, grammar, sentences, cross all T's and dot all I's, and have someone review your work so that if you might have overlooked, that can be caught even by your colleagues, not only experts and mentors. So be passionate about your research, because that will help you to fulfill your goal. And these are the references which could be helpful, and you can find them on your handouts, which is separate PDF format. Thank you for your attention.